The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. Oh, good afternoon when you watch this. I'm CJ.
And I'm Jeff, and good evening. It'll be 5 o'clock when you watch this.
That's true. It will be later on in the afternoon.
Screwed up with this speed, we don't know when to say hello.
From now on, we're just going to say hi. Well, I'll tell you right now, yesterday was a day of information and craziness.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting because the announcement was made. Finally, people, not because the mayor did it, but because the funeral homes has done it. The Amarals family lost 3 members of their family from the Amarals Market. But people in the city are upset. They want to know why the mayor never told them, because people were frequenting that market, and it was wall-to-wall people for a very long time during this COVID crisis. And could they have been infected? They want to know. And they want to know, should they go get tested? And I think that's a reasonable expectation. But the mayor didn't want to touch it. So what's he doing? That's my big question. I'm not sure what you may think, Chip, but...
Well, you would be more familiar with the HEPA guidelines, but since this is obviously a massive public health issue, I don't think we needed to know the names of the individuals, but I think it was incumbent upon the city to inform the residents that there were, we just knew they shut down just immediately with no reason. And I think they had a right to know that there were potential cases, even if they're not confirmed yet. If there's any, we're trying to stop the spread of this disease. So I think if there's any business that has got a case or a potential case, the people should be informed and let them make their own choices if they want to go there, if they're not closed, which they did close. But I think, I just think they dropped the ball. I don't believe that they should be not putting this information out, because obviously people say, well, you could hurt their business. Well, if you look at the governor up there in Michigan, she shut down the entire state. You can't even breathe in his protest. But I think it's only fair to the people in the city of Fall River to let them know if there's areas that have had people with confirmed cases that are working there, because obviously the ability to spread the disease is there.
Yeah, and the thing is that once somebody dies, I mean, the HIPAA doesn't govern can you announce their death. It does announce that their medical record is still sealed, but we need to know. And the people needed to know. There are a lot of people now which are very concerned because they frequented that market. That was a major mainstay of the Portuguese community. It's like Lou's Bakery, which was closed at Easter, which I was surprised at, but that's another story. He probably wanted to take the weekend off. But when you have a mainstay like Amarals Market, people want to know. They're concerned because they frequent that market on a daily basis. So when it closed, it was a hit. And of course, when it closed, the rumor mill kicked up into overdrive that somebody had COVID. And they weren't wrong, because you and I both know in all the rumors, there's a little bit of truth somewhere. So.
Right. You're right. But I think you said after they died, the HEPA, but it's not even that. To me, I think it's incumbent on the city to say, look, if we are aware of even an infection or a potential case, I think that people need to know, because then they're going to have to make a decision. And there are still a lot of people walking around without masks and without, and they're not wearing gloves. But they're keeping their distance, and they're saying the distance is adequate. That they may be required at some point in time to do so. But the reality is that they have a right to know that, hey, there's somebody that worked in this SOA, who obviously could have put that virus anywhere, and I think that they had an obligation to say, and I think that businesses should be required to report if someone is, being tested for the disease, and so people will know. I mean, information. They give us so much of the same information: wear a mask, social distance, which many people ignore anyway. But I think that for the public health, this is a crisis. Although I just got through watching something about Taiwan. I don't know if you're aware of it, CJ. I just got finished watching it. Taiwan basically has they only have 300 and some cases of the virus and only 3 deaths. And they said they didn't shut down any of their businesses. What they did was they prevented people coming from mainland China into Taiwan, and then everybody's wearing masks and gloves. But they kept the businesses going, and they did what they had to do, and obviously it worked. So information is a big factor, and in Taiwan they passed the information that they showed some clips of the businesses running, and I didn't see anybody without a mask and without gloves. So the stuff works. I mean, for now, social distancing and not being exposed, and even if you're in an area, to make sure that you've got protection, even if you've got distance. So I think I think they really screwed up with this. I think that people had a right to know. People had a right to know. You don't have to give the names and the addresses and anything else, but say, hey, there are people who worked in whatever Home Depot or whatever, who are being tested, or have tested positive.
I mean, just look at what happened with Stop and Shop. They had 4 positives, and they shut the stores down. They shut the warehouse down, and they cleaned it up. They came out and they said it. That was from them. But shouldn't the city have, told us that too? Well, the problem is this. If the city knows, it's the city where that person resides. That's the key that people have to understand. If somebody dies in Fall River, but they're from Tiverton, that death will be attributed to Rhode Island, not to Massachusetts. That's where that count's going to come from. And the other thing that people have to realize is if you notice the counts recently, if you go to the hospital at St. Anne's, you do not stay there if you have coronavirus. You get transferred to Morton or Dorchester, which is Kearney Hospital, or to Morton Hospital in Taunton. Those are the hospitals that Stewart is using for coronavirus. Charlton or South Coast has yet to open up their facilities in New Bedford, which they're looking to do. And they also have not opened up UMass Dartmouth yet as a field hospital. So these are areas where we're prepared, but we're not getting the information from our elected officials. They're blindsiding us. We're not knowing. They know, but they're not telling us, and that's not right. They need to make it more public. I mean, you have mayors that are having press conferences on a daily basis talking about what's going on. These emails that we get in regards to the counts each day are the same thing every day. The only difference that they make a change in is the count. It says right here, this is exactly how it's written. Fall River COVID-19 update. 17 additional residents test positive, bringing total to 182. Third fatality is reported. And then they say underneath it, 17 additional cases of COVID-19 have been identified in Fall River. That brings the total to 182. The city has been notified of its third fatality due to COVID-19. To respect patient confidentiality, details regarding the individuals will not be released at this time. The Fall River Health Department is in contact with the individuals who have tested positive, as well as their contacts. These individuals are in isolation and quarantine. Now, right there, that's the standard line they're putting in. The problem I'm having is people who have tested positive have contacted me. via phone, and they've said nobody has contacted me in regards to who I've been in contact with. So where is the contact tracing? If people have tested positive are calling us, telling us that they haven't had any contact with the health department and what's happening, there's a problem. And they close all of these press releases with the same thing. We continue to encourage residents to practice social distancing. This means keeping a distance of 6 feet between individuals. Continue to wash your hands on a regular basis. Clean and disinfect frequently. Touch surfaces and stay home as much as possible, especially when you are sick, and wear a face covering when out in public. These measures will help to limit the spread of COVID. Information regarding the Florida response to COVID may be found at the city's website, blah, 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 blah. It's everything is the same, every single press release, except for the counts, the numbers. The numbers are what are different. Now, this morning, I received a message via Facebook Messenger that there was another death in Fall River. Now, we'll have to see if, the mayor announces that today or not. But and the person who gave me the information is very reliable, and they also gave me the person's name, which I'm not going to reveal here, not because I'm afraid to reveal it, but because I don't think it's valid to give it this time because I haven't confirmed it myself. I need to confirm anything before I give it out there. There's no sense in putting somebody's name out there and then all of a sudden it's wrong.
Well, you're right, but we're getting back to an issue here that, and everybody obviously has got a perspective on this, but from my perspective, we've got, I believe you just said there are 17 new cases or something like that. And, we don't need the names and a lot of information on these unless these people are employees in a facility where the public can enter. And, you know as well as I do that disease has an incubation period, can be transmitted. They might have worked while they were capable of contaminating surfaces. And I think that because of that, you can tell us 17 cases, but if those people worked in obviously in some business that is considered essential and was opening like a market or all the essential businesses, which are few and far in between, I think that the public has a right to know because, as you said, what you pointed out, Stop and Shop did the right thing. They had people who tested positive. They immediately shut the stores down. They sanitized the stores, and they reopened. But some of these stores maybe didn't do that, as you said. We've got obviously, unfortunately, some deaths from Amarals, and obviously our sympathy goes out because there are multiple deaths at that store. However, as you said, this is one of the highest traffic markets in the city, especially for its size, because it's not an extremely large market, and it's difficult not to be in some proximity with an area that somebody could have touched. So I think it's incumbent that if the person is working in a facility, that number one, the public should know so they can really take precautions when they go into that facility. And secondly, that the city has an obligation to ensure that that facility is taking the proper steps as Stop and Shop did. Because if somebody in a facility tests positive and that store does absolutely nothing, we don't know if they've infected other employees who then will infect customers. And this is a mess. I mean, I look at what Taiwan did, and some people are doing it right, obviously, because Taiwan is obviously very close to mainland China, and they basically controlled that thing from the outset by doing what maybe people don't want to hear of what Trump did. He was one of the first regular countries to shut down traffic, and he took heat for it from China. But that's what Taiwan did. They stopped all incoming because they get something like, I forgot how many millions of visitors, 3 million or 30 million visitors every year from mainland China go to Taiwan. And they shut down all incoming air traffic from China, and they've done something that apparently worked. But this is a major mess here. And New York and California have apparently, from what we've been told, have hit the apex and are beginning to flatten out and begin to reduce because they're talking about opening some areas. But our area hasn't reached the peak yet. So it's really important that we learn from what other countries and what other areas of this nation have done, which work, and try to apply it.
And one of the things that I think needs to be made very clear to the public, and I'm saying this as a professional, we may never get rid of this virus entirely. Okay, we may have this around ad infinitum because there's no guarantee we're going to cure each and every case of it that comes up, or each and every person's going to get by it. So opening up the country, and the president is talking right now that he wants to turn the ability to open up their states to them as they see fit. That is going to create a second wave of this virus, and that's something that people don't understand. The mayor is so focused on the economy, but he's not focusing on the health issues. If we reopen the economy and these states and all these businesses so fast, what's going to happen is we're going to have a second wave, and we're going to go through this all over again. It has to be done incrementally, and it has to be slowly. And you have to do it by the number of counts you have in your community. I mean, if you're down to 1 or 2 coronavirus cases a month, then you know what? Maybe it's time for you to open up, because that's probably as good as we're going to get. But if you're still at 100, 120 a week, you know what? You can't open up. You can't. I know it's hurting people. I know it's hurting businesses. I know that it's hurting people who want to go back to work and get out of their house. But you know what? You've got to be looking at the big picture. And the fact that this president wants to start opening up the country already tells me he's ignoring the advice given to him by the medical professionals. He's not a medical professional. He's a real estate person. He is a television personality, and he's the president of the United States. Listen to your people, Mr. President. That's what should be done.
Well, we've got a political battle here too, because he wanted to be to basically control the entire dynamic, but the governors rebelled, and you had all the constitutional scholars saying he doesn't have the power. That the governors, in fact, can run their own states. There is an autonomy there to a degree. And Fauci, I believe, said that, look, he said exactly what you said, that being a doctor and you're a healthcare professional. He said that if we do this, we have to always understand that we're risking having a resurgence, because this is why you have to really look at the numbers in your area. And this is why some people support governors doing it and local cities doing it, because you have to look at your own city. If your city is the only hot spot in the state, well, you shouldn't be reopening anything. But if it looks like you got a handle on it, as you said, and you can see the cases going down, and you have to, it has to be on a individual basis, the individual community, the individual state, the individual, you can't do everything nationwide, because there's one part that got it earlier and it's beginning to leave. And I understand the perspective. Everybody wants to open up the business, but we don't need, as Fauci said, we don't need to restart this engine again and start another cycle of infections. And that's what they have to take close attention to. Because even if they do reopen in some areas that are right now low, they have to monitor really closely, because if they begin to see an uptick again, they're going to have to jump in and reinstitute things and shut things down again. Otherwise, this cycle is going to repeat itself.
Well, and when you look at countries like Spain and Italy, which have shut down businesses, shut down their borders, and they've kept it that way, they've been able to slowly get a hold of this crisis, and they're not trying to reopen their businesses. They're not trying to reopen their country right now, because they know if they do, they're going to get a rebound, and they can't have that. So they're sucking it up and dealing with it. As a matter of fact, they've taken it one step further. that if you're out of your house, not going to the market or the pharmacy, you get fined or arrested. They're not putting up with it. We're just lucky in the United States that they haven't done that. But you do have mayors like Brockton, which recently instituted a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. and requires, not advises, requires you to wear a mask when you're out of the house. And if you don't do it, they're going to fine you. Guess what?
Right. And you know what? You know what this is about? It's ironic that we're talking about this. It's just popped into my head. We're all experiencing what the Fall River Police Department has been experiencing for 30 or 40 years. They are basically under house arrest if they're out sick. And how they got that in that contract is beyond me, because if they ever agreed that they would win, because it's absolutely absurd. But you're home with a broken arm, and you have to call the department to leave your house. You can't go anywhere except unless they authorize it, like to a pharmacy to pick up something, or if you have to go to a supermarket. They've been under quarantine. Some of these police officers have been under quarantine their entire lives if they got a common cold or a broken arm, because it's part of their contract. And how they ever allowed that to exist is beyond me, because that is so uncut. You're going to stick me at home and tell me because I got a broken arm I can't leave my house? That is nuts. That is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know how the unions have allowed, and I tell this to their union people all the time. So I'm not saying it now because I've never heard it. Because I talked to Joe Castro, I talked to other police officers, and I told them how ridiculous that is to be under confinement because you're out sick. You know, obviously you're not supposed to be out working on a site. But if you're home with a broken arm and you can't be a police officer and they can't put you on light duty for some reason, you can't be under house arrest. But they are. So welcome to the world of the Fall River Police Department. So this is what they're under every time they're out sick.
That's that, and you're right. And, this is what we go through. I got to bring this up because I'm receiving messages right now in regards to it. Fall River to receive $2.6 million to assist homeless programs affected by the pandemic. And I have to read this quote from one of the people that commented on this. John, looks like Lawfren. Another $2.6 million wasted by our politicians won't solve anything. Watch where the money goes. Salaries to politically connected hacks posing as nonprofit do-gooders. I mean, this is what people are thinking right now. Because remember, the PPP money's all gone. And it went to big business. It didn't go to the small guy. It went to the bigger guys. And that money was supposed to be for small business.
Kudos to John. You hit it right on the head, because nobody in government ever does their job. And if you want to screw something up, let government do it. And give them money, because they'll always run out of money. And we see these systemic issues. We can kind of segue off this because we're running a little short of time, but I think we really have to talk about something we were told about somebody that's hired for $78,000 and only has to work 4 days a week and has a day off. Of course, everybody's working from home now, so maybe they'll never come back to work, but also has another part-time job at the city for $28,000. That's the allegation. So we have a tourism director who's making $78,000, who has another part-time job making $28,000 for the city. So do the math and figure out how much that comes out to, plus benefits, and realize that this individual is only working 4 days a week on their full-time job. So I have no idea what she's working on a part-time job. But we wonder why.
Actually, Chip. It's not the tourist agent. It is the purchasing agent and the project manager. So when the purchasing agent purchases the product for the project manager who's issued it, it's the same person buying it and approving it. Isn't that a little bit of a conflict of interest?
It actually may even be illegal.
Right.
It's not only an ethical violation, but okay, I stand corrected. But
I don't want to get a phone call from Ann O'Neill Souza.
well, I'm glad you did, because I got some information about that. People are always complaining about the tourism director, but the fact is that okay, it's but run up deficits because nobody knows where any money goes. They don't give a damn. They never gave a damn. They just keep spending it and giving it to their friends, as John said. And then when it comes time to pay the bills and they can't rob Peter anymore, they rob the taxpayers because
they paid it off for a couple of years.
we heard about the fireboat.
That's right, $500,000.
A $500,000 fireboat, which I'm not saying we shouldn't get at some point in time. But the reality is, what I'm concerned about is how this happened in 2018.
And nobody knew.
And the city council didn't know to 2020. You think there's a systemic breakdown in what's going on in the city when the financial team and the mayor spends money and never brings it before the council, which is supposed to be back. And I was told that they said, well, I thought they were going to raise money, from people to help pay. Well, this is a obviously a high-tech boat. It's an ambulance. It's almost $500,000 boat. It's not like the Boston whaler they used to have. So, but the reality is, if we're going to get it, because that we're going to develop the waterfront, I believe the chief said he was going to try to get some money. Why didn't we wait until the waterfront was developed? If a business comes in to relocate at the waterfront, they're going to spend millions of dollars on the waterfront, and businesses are going to come in and invest their capital. You don't think they would be willing to kick in to help get a fireboat?
Oh, sure, of course they would.
But the problem is, if we always buy things in anticipation of something, and the thing that we anticipated never happens. So you know what happens? We bought something, and we got to pay for it, the taxpayers. And the thing that disturbs me about this is, fine, if they want to buy a boat, and get a good one. I don't believe in buying crap. Go out and get a good boat. Fine. But I want to know how something that was started in 2018 didn't come before the council until the bill came due, since they are the Ways and Means Committee of this city. They are the people who appropriate the spending. And how can you do this? There's a breakdown in the system. There it is again. More proof. Because look, Mary Sahadi lost money her firm lost money in 91. She's been losing money ever since. And nobody ever questions. She went in front of the council again without the numbers. I don't have those numbers at this time. Why not? You're there to provide those numbers. That's why they showed up. But did the city council do what they should and adjourn the meeting and say, come back when you got it? Try that in a court of law. Try that in a court of law. Go in front of a judge in Boston and say, oh, I'm sorry, Judge, I'm not prepared for the case. And the case has been on a docket. You had 6 months or a year to prepare. You know what the judge is going to tell you? Come.
Yeah, get out of here. Well, it looks like we're running out of time here. So I hope you all have a great weekend. If you have any tips, please send them to us on Facebook. If you have any questions, send them to us on Facebook. While we're in this situation, we'll answer them right here, right now, as soon as we can. I'm constantly monitoring it. I wish I had this when we were doing it out of the studio, and I may do that. I may bring a tablet in to get it. But thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay angry, and remember, we're here to help you.
Yeah, and remember, we can't spend money and not have the bill come in for 2 years like the city does, and then nobody even complains. So have a good one. Stay healthy, stay safe, keep your distance, especially from politicians.
Thank you.